Alright, so everyone knows Mario is cool as
Horrible opening.
but who knows what he's thinking? Who knows why he crushes turtles?
To save the princess?
And why do we think about him as fondly as the mythical non-existent Dr. Pepper? Perchance.
You can't just say perchance.
Mario bears no introduction. Everyone knows him as the red platforming plumber and hero of the Mushroom Kingdom. But additionally, he's a very malleable character, meaning he'll work in almost any setting you put him in, proven by his fruitful track record of appearances in spin-off titles throughout the years. But there was one, a special one. One spin-off title unlike anything before and after it. Mario's Bombs Away! Examples of Mario's flexible career can be found in the many sports titles he starred in. Mario kicked off his sports side series with NES Open Tournament Golf. Regular golf, although I'm not entirely sure if that counts as a Mario. He looks more like an Antonio. The SNES was unfortunately dry of any Mario sports unless you count kart racing as one, but thankfully Mario Sports would make its grand return on the Virtual Boy. Mario and tennis were just meant to be for some reason, but unfortunately Mario's tennis burned one too many retinas, so he lost ownership and instead got every tennis game afterwards named after him. And so, Mario Tennis for the Nintendo 64 was born, along with golf making its triumphant return in the form of Mario Golf. He actually looks like Mario this time. From this point forward, Mario sports games would find a sort of formula. Just repeat the same sport with some new gimmicks, stages, characters, and so on. Baseball would eventually find its way onto the Mario Sports catalog, and as boring of a sport as it may be in real life, it fits right in with the rest of the sports titles. But here's the thing. As quality as these games may be, at the end of the day, they are basically just Mario in tennis, or Mario in baseball. That's not a bad thing per se, but what if one of these games just broke the mold? What if we got a Mario sports game that was unlike anything we've ever seen before, both from a visual and technical perspective, truly making the sport one of its own? Well, on one fateful day, Nintendo got together with Canadian game company Next Level Games to develop and release Super Mario Strikers. I never played that game. Let's talk about the sequel. The very concept of a Mario Strikers was shown to the world at E3 2005 as a playable demo. The game was originally intended to be like realistic soccer until the developers opted for a bit of a crazier style after a few meetings with Nintendo. So Next Level Games, being the pure-blooded Canadians they are, pulled from another game of theirs, NHL Hits Pro, a game based on Canada's one and only sport. What the fuck is a lacrosse? Super Mario Strikers ended up being a huge success, regarded as being the best sports game at the time, although I don't think the competition by then was the tightest. Like, come on, you tell me who wins. So with the rise of Mario Strikers, there was bound to be some kind of successor, and thankfully, with the GameCube on life support, Nintendo's next generation console was right around the corner. The Nintendo Wii, of course. Yes, the very console that introduced motion controls to the world. It was a revolution until everyone found it annoying. With the Wiimote's design, the console was just begging to have sports games on it. I mean, the literal launch title for the console was a sports game. Then, by July of 2007, Nintendo and Next Level released Mario Strikers Charged, and believe me when I say, this might just be the best designed Mario game I've ever played. 2007 really was the year for Mario, wasn't it? So you might be wondering by now why I'm saying such things about a mere soccer game, but it's absolutely so much more. Let's find out why I like any other game and actually play the damn thing. I like how the disc channel music is more laid back than Smash Bros. Brawl. Other Mario sports titles have the trend of getting a little opening cinematic before the game starts, whether it be there to show off what the game is going to be like or just tell a cute little story. And the first Strikers game had one as well. There was a lot of Wario ass in that one. Wouldn't you know it, Strikers Charged comes with an intro and... Oh, so this is what I'm getting myself into. Right from the get-go with the opening, you can clearly see that this is a way more tonally serious Mario game. Like, this ain't your Nathaniel Bandy Super Mario.
Aw shit, I'm naked.
Compared to other Mario sports games where they're just kind of holding sports tournaments for fun, here they genuinely want to kill each other. Funny how a lot of the settings feel post-apocalyptic as well, just to go with the overall grunginess of the game. What is the crucial lore of Mario Strikers? Back to the game for a bit. After watching the opening cinematic, 5 out of 10, not enough Wario ass, we're met with probably the most threatening title screen I've ever seen in my life, until you wait a few seconds and the guitar kicks in. Entering the main menu, we see 9 different options circling the ball, that's cute. Where else to start playing than in online? One Nintendo Wi-Fi connection later. Okay, so that didn't work. Let's try out versus mode. Oh, sorry, I mean domination mode. I don't know, I kinda like the term grudge match better. This game is not looking good, guys. We dive inside of Mario's ball and are met with the rule settings and cheats. Remember this will be important. We're then able to choose our captains. We're also saving this for later. After choosing what side we're on, love me the option of playing the away team, let's just start a normal match and see how a regular game of Mario Strikers looks like. Never before have I seen a game that blends pure, unadulterated chaos and masterful precision and strategy so well. Let me just break it down for you, mechanic by mechanic. And yes, I know there's an in-game tutorial that teaches you how to play, but Strikers 101 only really shows you the basics of the basics, like how to pass, and how to shoot, and how to harness the power of God and anime into a soccer ball. Speaking of which, what are we waiting for? Let's kill each other! And they said brothership had long loading screens. We're met with our sidekicks staring each other down with the battle just about to commence. Everyone is here and they are hyped. Unless you're playing in a stadium with no seating. That's dumb, seeing as how the audience is seated in some stages. I don't know why they draw the line at the sand tomb. The sidekicks are then united with their captains who drop from the sky Fortnite style and the battle begins! As I said before, Next Level combined the structure of soccer with elements of the fast-paced aggressiveness in hockey, which can be seen right away in the face-off. That's right, a face-off. Normal soccer games would start with a kickoff, but as I'm sure you'll notice, this ain't normal soccer. Additionally, the stadiums are more akin to that of a hockey rink than a soccer field, with the corners being rounded out and the entire arena being enclosed with an electric fence. There are no electric fences in the NHL, sorry to break it to you. Charge really prides itself on being soccer with no rules, even though, while there's still way less of them than in Virgin Soccer, there are still rules here. Well, they're more like guidelines, actually. In Piss Baby Soccer, for example, you're not allowed to tackle people for the ball, or at all really. You can slide tackle, but not to knock people over. No, tackling was saved for American football, a sport that has you primarily carry the ball and use your feet for like 30% of it. Good name, America. Now, on the contrary, in Shad Mario Strikers for the Nintendo Wii, you can pummel your opponents to all your heart's content. But there's a catch. We'll get back to this eventually. The main gameplay loop of Strikers Charged is kind of like an extreme and more intricate version of Hot Potato when you really look at it. Obviously, you want to score goals, but Critter is no pushover, so how do you get past him? Well, my friend, the secret is all in your balls. The power of your shots are dependent on whatever color the ball is glowing, from purple being the weakest to white being the strongest. There are a few things to do to get it to this white state, but primarily you'll need to pass the ball. Every pass charges it up a little before you eventually get it up to the goalie and unleash that charge in your shot, so that's why it's called that. It sounds like a simple premise until you factor in the computer players. And also human players too, but like, come on, if you're playing this game, are you playing it with friends? They aren't that bad on lower difficulties, obviously, but if you've experienced anything from the Striker Cup, you'll know that most of the time they're cranked up to 11 and they fucking hate you. They will make sure that your team is not in possession of the ball, knocking people out of the way and intercepting passes whenever they can. And unlike normal human players who have such things like reaction times, this is a computer hive mind. They know when you press that A button. This is why charging the ball is kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you'll get a higher chance to score, but on the other, the computers could steal the ball, making their scoring chances just as likely. The computer's offensive and defensive abilities really stumped me as a kid, but one day, upon looking at the controls menu, I found the greatest solution to my problem. The greatest band-aid to my problems I could ever ask for. The lob button. By holding Z on the nunchuck while holding the ball, it does jack shit. Until you shoot or pass while holding it. It's not really that good for shooting, trust me, I've scored some of the stupidest goals like this, but it can do wonders for passing. Tired of having the ball intercepted between passes? Lob it right over those pesky ball thieves. Just make sure it doesn't go like directly over them, they can still jump to it. Now, passing may sound like an absolutely broken mechanic to get the ball fully charged up, and it kind of is for some, but it all depends on your characters. Yeah, those flashy wrestler entrances and animations aren't just for show. Every character has a unique playstyle. Kinda. Every character falls under one of 5 different archetypes that affects how you play. The balanced types are the basic bitches that you'd expect. Power types have great shots and defense, playmakers are fast but weak, and defensive and defensive types are exactly what they sound like. Each captain and sidekick have their own strengths and weaknesses, so you'll want to pick out a good team. You could theoretically win a game with a team full of Monty Moles, but since they're not very good runners or passers, it's not ideal. There's a strategy to it, both in picking your teammates and using your teammates in the game. The latter especially in Road to the Striker Cup. You'll want to think about who you have and use them accordingly based on who you're up against. Oh, the other team is slow? Take advantage of that and use your fast guys. Get some of your powerful teammates to make all the shots, try and daze the goalie. Try and get some of the good passers to charge up the ball between each other before letting it out in that sweet, sweet... Every time the game slows down and you hear that snap, crackle, pop from the ball, it's just, oh. This is my autism game. Now that's all well and good, but remember, the computers can pull off this stuff too. Believe me when I say that they will spare no expense in trying to score, regardless of if they're in the lead or not. Say for instance, you pass a charged ball to one of your heavy hitters, a goal practically guaranteed, is what you think until suddenly... the computer just pushes you over. They do this a lot actually. Like I said, they will make sure that you don't have the ball. Remember, this isn't bitch baby soccer. Anyone, including you, can just push people out of the way. Although, remember when I said tackling people recklessly had a catch? In getting helplessly toppled over, you just earned yourself an item. Items work like how you'd expect them from, say, Mario Kart, and are earned by either charging and shooting a shot on the goal, or, like I just said, horseplay. About the no rules thing again. While you don't get a red card for caving in Yoshi's skull, you do at least get some form of penalty. And I'm not complaining about that, it's a very good way to balance out the extreme gameplay so that the games can truly be anyone's, and it really helps that some of these items are extremely busted. There's your standard red and green shells which get fired in rows of 3, as well as giant versions of those shells that bury opponents. Spiked shells, which I'm pretty sure is an original item. They're like green shells but more durable. Blue shells, not to be confused with the blue shell from the funny car game that explodes. These ones...
I know. Freeze.
You can lay down sets of bananas to corner yourself, or you can get a comically large banana which is more funny than it is useful. Bob-ombs to call in missile strikes on the souls of the damned. Mushrooms, which, just like in Mario Team Racing, speed you up for a short amount of time, and on rare occasions when the team really needs some help, stars and chain chomps. The former does exactly what you think it does, and the latter, I see in my dreams. That would be everything, but this game kind of has a few special items as well, known as the captain abilities. See, if you get an icon with your captain's head in the item slot, no, you can't use their decapitated head as an item, but you can activate their own special move unique to them. For the most part, looking at you, Luigi. These are typically really strong attacks too. DK slams the ground with a humongous shockwave, Bowser sets his foes on fire, Daisy does whatever that is, Diddy Kong straight up raptures people to the heavens, while Luigi, are you fucking serious? And Petey ingests Ipecac. A lot of these special moves can be used to distance yourself from other players or knock other players away from you. Why would you want to do that, you may ask? Say your team is really behind in the game. The other team is like 6 goals ahead. There's only one way you could possibly get yourself out of that pickle, and that's with a Mega Strike. Mega Strikes are an evolution of Super Strikes from the last game. If you have the ball as a captain, hold B till you can't anymore. Then time your button presses on this meter to get the biggest number you can and aim for the orange area on the way back. If all is done uninterrupted, then watch the magic happen. With the sheer power of Mega Strikes up your sleeve that you can pull out literally whenever, a game of Mario Strikers can truly be anyone's. Which also means the computers can do this too, and it's fucking scary when it happens. Nothing injects fear into me more than the sound of that blaring alarm that sounds when a computer hits the orange area. Up until a Mega Strike, the Mario Strikers experience is mainly proactive over reactive. You can't just look at the ball the whole time and expect to win. You need to consider everything on the field. Your team positions, the other team's positions, what items everyone has, and what could potentially fuck you over. Everything. And if you fail to be proactive enough to prevent a Mega Strike, you better pray to God you're not having a slow reaction day. And that's what makes this game so chaotic yet so controlled. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. I feel like I'm gonna start getting philosophical talking about a fucking soccer game, holy shit. So let's say you go onto YouTube and watch people talk about this game. Chances are they're not actually talking about this game, rather they're talking about Mario Strikers Battle League and how it's so much worse than this one. Even if they're not paying that much mind to this version because, well, this one doesn't have free content updates. But let's say you do find people talking about this game, what then? And by people I mean like Relaxalex, Nathaniel Bandy, nobody really talks about this game.
But this is nothing compared to its sequel.
That's right.
As nice as it is seeing this game get some fucking recognition for once, their attention is mainly caught by the characters. I'll get back to that in a sec. I'm well aware that Mario Strikers Charged is kind of a cult classic game. You either haven't played it before or have played it and loved it. And I have yet to meet anyone who has played it and didn't like it. I will find you. Now you see, the thing is, why does everyone love this game? I know I literally just explained it in the last section in full detail, but that's why I love this game. It's game design heaven and probably has one of the biggest skill ceilings of any Mario game. Funky Flame Runner my ass. Why do other people love this game? Waluigi sticks his tongue out in his mugshot, that's freaky. The characters in this game are just an absolute treat to see in action, and their loud personalities are really something I wish Nintendo did more often. Like, imagine a brand new 3D Mario game that had Strikers' personalities. Without the badass teenage angst, of course. I'm fairly confident we're never gonna see Mario's chemical romance again. Just make him admit something that isn't a wahoo, for God's sakes. What I'm trying to get at is that everyone loves how the Mario crew was handled in this game. Or do they? To give you an idea, every character in this game is handled less like a Mario Kart driver and more like a Smash Bros fighter. Each of the captains and sidekicks all fall into 5 different archetypes, as I've previously mentioned, but they all have their own thing that makes each character unique. It's not even down to special items, almost every character's Deke move has a different property. They do follow a general theme between types, balance juts the player in the direction of input, playmakers jump, power types knock attackers away, offensive types do some form of a ground pound, and defensive types make me miserable. You'd think all the balanced and power and whatever type characters would all be the same as other characters in their respective categories, and that's usually how it is. Particularly in Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, this is completely related, I swear. In Dream Table Tennis, every character has their own special moves that they can unleash with their own effects and animation. However, despite this, there are actually only 4 unique special moves shared between characters of the same type. That's not really the case in Mario Strikers. Back to the Dekes, while they do have similar effects, every character takes their own unique spin on the concept. Koopa shoots himself forward in a shell, Monty Mole digs into the ground, Birdo twirls like a ballerina and it infuriates me every time, Bowser hides in his shell. You know, when's the last time he has actually referenced his turtle heritage? Oh, and Hammer Bro breaks the game. I know this all sounds minor, but you gotta realize, most sports games that have different archetypes like this don't really differentiate their characters outside of having tiny little stat changes and special moves if it's the kind of game to have one. Hell, you'd think having the captains and sidekicks segregated like this would cause a divide in quality, but honestly, no. I'd say the sidekicks still get as much love as the captains. Did I mention they can do skill shots? The skill shots are essentially just to make up for the sidekicks not being able to Mega Strike, so in turn they get a less confirmed but decent chance at the goal. Well, for the most part. Hammer Bro breaks the game. What I've been trying to say is that there's more to Mario Strikers Charged than just the characters being over the top and expressive. That in and of itself is not a bad thing by any means. I love it when Luigi becomes an airplane and Peter pulls out the fucking limbo stick like 70% of the time he scores because he only has like 2 victory animations. And on top of that, every character has their own winning and losing animations. How often do you see losing animations in sports games? It's the type of details like these that just make me think, we're never getting a game like this again, are we? Yet I feel like it's easy to just look at this like any other Mario sports game, just with really cool animations and an overall neat atmosphere. But like, surely I can't be alone in thinking it's so much more than that. There are layers to Mario Strikers. You don't truly realize how complex and calculated it is until you actually look into and, well, play the game. Believe me, I've learned the hard way. Let's make a quick pit stop at the Hall of Fame. This is where you can see all your awards from the campaign mode, player cards, and your in-game progress. I don't know about you, but when I see all these icons with locked symbols on them, I want to unlock them. Starting with the player cards, these are found in Striker Challenges, which are short little event matches for each character to complete. They all have conditions or objectives like simply winning in a sudden death, successfully executing a shutout, or scoring 3 goals, to more extreme situations like having a weak goalie, only having 2 teammates, not being able to use items, or having to score 7 goals against max difficulty CPUs. Upon completing these challenges, you're rewarded handsomely with a cheat and your player's card. Yeah, remember that cheats menu from earlier? I don't, because I play this game the way God intended, but these are fun little bonuses to throw on nonetheless, with cheats such as Guaranteed Mega Strike, Item Brain, Pussy Mode, Actual Hell, Smash Bros, Bananas Only, is that a fucking Metallica reference? And Super Captains. Can you unlock Smart Steering too? So we have all the little bonus cheats, which is all well and good, but what about the stuff we actually want to use for the most part? The unlockable characters and stages. If Hell on Earth isn't real, then Road to the Striker Cup doesn't exist. Alright, but before we go into that, is there anything else that we should look at first? You guys want to see the credits? Yeah, woo, look at them up, let me go. The Road to the Striker Cup. We begin by selecting our character of choice and our sidekicks. Now, I just want you guys to keep in mind, you cannot change any of your characters mid-game. If you want to change a sidekick or something to the likes of that, you gotta restart the whole campaign, so it's best you think about who you're taking to the road. Once you've decided, it's time to work your way up the steps of superstardom and claim that cup. Starting with the Fire Cup League. Little side note, but I like the attention to detail that all 3 of the cups are bronze, silver, and gold. It's cute. I fucking hate myself. Each of the cups structure-wise follow the exact same formula, but with different takes on it. There are 3 rounds, the qualifiers, elimination, and the finals, and each cup plays around with that structure a little. The Fire Cup is the most basic in this aspect, understandably so because it's the beginner cup. The qualifiers puts you in round robin play against 3 other competitors twice, and if you can win enough against them, you'll make it to the next round. However, losing too much and getting in the lower half of the ranks will get you eliminated. Now, along with the cups, you can also win different trophies during the leagues and the qualifiers, namely the Brick Wall and the Golden Foot. The Brick Wall award is given to the player with the least amount of scores against them, and in contrast, the Golden Foot is awarded to the player with a foot fetish, the Golden Foot is awarded to the player who scored the most goals. They're fine enough trophies to look at, even though they're copy-pasted throughout every single cup, but that's not why you want them. Getting both the Brick Wall and Golden Sigma awards will earn you a brand new stage. Let's talk about those for a sec. Throughout the Fire Cup before the finals, the stages rotate between each of the unlocked starter stages you'd have before winning the Fire Cup. About half of the stages in this game are hazardless, which is understandable because a good chunk of the selection is literally from the first game. They do have cool looks, but Strikers 1 didn't have any stage hazards other than Bowser, who is playable now, so that wouldn't work. The only other hazardless stages by this point are the Vice and the Classroom. Editor's note, hi. I forgot to note that you can't get the Classroom in Road to the Striker Cup at all. Fuck. The Vice is basically this game's version of Battlefield, the first stage you see in the selection and the stage on the box art, but only in the UK. And the Classroom is the setting for the tutorial. It sort of reminds me of a school gymnasium, but all high-tech and futuristic. This will be Baldi's Basics in 2019. Thunder Island is the first base stage with hazards, and they're pretty drastic ones for being the second on the list. The most noticeable difference here is how you can just fall off. That alone changes how you think about playing the game. You gotta be super careful near the edges. Maybe you could play a bit dirty and knock everyone off the platform at the expense of them getting more items. The Thunder Island is your oyster, although make sure to keep note of the thunder part in Thunder Island. There's no thunder or lightning on the field, but there is a thunderstorm happening in the background, and thunderstorms means intense winds, and intense winds means holy flying Alfonso! Yeah, so things like cows and entire tractors that were swept away in the wind can appear on stage and instantly knock anyone who stands in their path out of bounds. And on top of that, the ball also gets swept away in the wind. Thankfully not blown off, but still harder to control. So please, for your own sake, don't stay in one place for too long, as you may get cowed. Changing stages, the Sand Tomb is a really interesting one because of just how much that goes on here and how much it affects the gameplay. Like, there's almost an entire new way you have to approach scoring. The lateral outer ends of the field are covered in sand, which, you know, makes sense. Desert. But the sand here actually slows you down. How much it slows you down depends on the character. God forbid you're playing as a slow character, but it still affects your gameplay nonetheless. Alright, then I'll just play in the middle of the field. Nothing wrong with that. Yo, I'm gonna let you finish, but every so often you'll see shadows casting on these tiles. Stepping right underneath is practically a one-way ticket to getting flattened. The thwomps aren't there 100% of the time, but it definitely helps in making the stage one of the most chaotic in the game. It's not uncontrollably chaotic though, you can still do some cool things here. I suggest trying to knock out any nearby opponents and then hiding in the sand so that no one is fast enough to get you in time before releasing like a skill shot or a mega strike or something like that. The stage you unlock from getting the two previously mentioned cups is the Wastelands. It doesn't really look like one, but this is the game's ice-themed stage with slippery floors and completely random lightning strikes in the direction of the ball's position. This is my least favorite stage in the game. If you pass all that, then you can move on to the elimination rounds. This round, primarily in the later cups, is one of the scariest because, hence the name, if you lose a single game in this round, you're out. It's not bad at all in the fire cup since you're just facing off against the singular easy CPU that also passed the qualifiers, but the others have a more turny structure and more people, which means greater chances at losing everything. I can confirm I've had some bad rage moments upon losing in this round, just short of getting to the finals. Oh, and if you're gonna say something along the lines of, oh well if the game makes you rage, then why would you like it? Why the fuck do you think Super Monkey Ball has fans? Your final battle in the Fire Cup is against Bowser Jr. in the Lava Pit. The stage is somehow scarier than the boss. The lava pit's main gimmick is, of course, the titular lava shooting onto the stage. Once a fireball makes contact with the ground, it explodes into a puddle of lava that can burn anyone who steps on it, and it can really fuck you over sometimes. This stage is unlocked along with Junior once you whoop his Walmart toddler ass and claim the Fire Cup, where you can then move on to the Crystal Cup. Rather than 6 qualifier rounds this time, you gotta do 10! Yup, you gotta work your way through 10 battles, and if you fail at any point, you gotta do all 10 again. It sounds really tedious if you fail, and it is, but you losing in the first place is a product of a phenomenon that we as civilized human beings like to call a skill issue. The stage you unlock from the Golden Foot and Brick Wall Awards this time is the Dump, which is probably one of the coolest looking maps in my opinion. Gameplay wise it is a little slippery, not to Wasteland degrees, but it is more challenging to get a handle for the controls, and that's because of the mud in the field constantly pushing you to the center due to being flushed away in the rain. The other stage this cup is unlocked alongside Diddy Kong and is the namesake for the cup itself, Crystal Canyon. The funniest stage in this game while also being one of my counter picks. Just picture this, you made it up to Diddy after the long haul. You both enter the stage ready to fight when suddenly... So all the stage gimmicks before this were all just minor annoyances or different physics or whatever. In Crystal Canyon, sunlight reflects onto the nearby crystals and then disintegrates, let me repeat that, disintegrates the players. And they don't come back until someone scores. They're basically dead, and it's so fucking funny, it makes me want to merge without looking. And you want to know what the best part is? This stage gimmick is genius. It's probably my favorite one because of how it pretty much turns the gameplay on its head. After each goal and when the game starts, 2 to 4 players can get burned, which will always leave you with equal teams of 2 or 3. This way, despite having your teammates literally burned to ashes, no one really has an advantage over the other. You might think having less players on the field kind of simplifies things, and it does to some extent, but at the same time, having less people means you're more vulnerable to getting the ball swiped up. So because of the little amount of people on the field, you really need to pay attention to where they are and what little of you are open. Even your team captains can get disintegrated, which can be really shitty if you're put in a position where you really need a mega strike. Speaking of captains, I'd like to bring up that Diddy Kong in particular, as I've mentioned before, has the ability to send other players out of battle, which minuses the player count even further, and it really just makes everything here feel more connected. Did you know that the crystal in the Crystal Cup is based on Crystal Canyon? Alright, this is it, people. The moment you've all been waiting for. The Striker Cup. This is what you've been working up to, everything you've trained for. This is why you got up in the morning to boot up this game. It's teased you in the name. It's teased you in the Hall of Fame. Its mere presence and the campaign menus has been teasing you. And now you're here. This is the video game equivalent to the story of Sisyphus. Qualifiers this time are oddly only 9 rounds rather than the big 10, but that's because this time you fight more characters once rather than less characters twice, something multiplication. The stage you unlocked from the awards for the last time is Galactic Stadium, which is weirdly advertised as the last stage in the game despite being unlocked before Stormship Stadium, but whatever, we'll treat it as such. What do you have to offer me, last stage? It's hazardless again. It's fucking hazardless again! I gotta find other Scott the Woz references to make, Jesus Christ. The only thing separating Galactic Stadium from the Vice, the Classroom, and all of the classic stages is that this one takes place in space. Sonic Colors takes place in space. Isn't that so fun and quirky? No, not really, to be honest. It really doesn't help when your space setting is just a floating chunk of metal surrounded by space junk behind just a skybox. Well, okay, there's like one planet in the background, but like, who cares? I won't dog on it too much because the stages by themselves are still just as fun as ever, as I think I've made it quite clear earlier, and the music slaps, though the music does commonly slap for most of the stage themes. Mario Strikers Charged might just have one of the most underrated soundtracks in all of gaming. Please, Nintendo, I'll download your silly little Spotify clone if you add Strikers Charged to the app. And also credit the creators anyways. Let's say, theoretically, you actually managed to qualify. You got through all 3 of those tough-as nails elimination battles, and you've clawed your way up to the final boss. Petey Piranha. Except I played as Petey, so the final battle is against Mario. The ultimate fight takes place on Stormship Stadium, which is presumably the same ship the captains dropped from in the intro. Although, if that's the case, where the hell do they drop from onto the Stormship? Let me just go ahead and say that by the point the final battle even starts, you will be terrified. It's a privilege that you're even able to make it up here after the long and brutal war that was the last 2 rounds. Now you're up against the big bad of it all, the final boss. Everything depends on these battles. It is all or nothing, and you will feel that in action. Along with the hardest boss fight to beat, you also need to deal with the stage itself. Like the Wastelands, the screen will begin to darken and will strike lightning every so often. Unlike the Wastelands, this is not dependent on the position of the ball. Rather, the lightning will always strike in the very center of the field, which probably sounds a lot lamer, but if you actually look at the field, you'll notice all these little lines spreading out from the center. Once struck, the electricity will course through a few of these lines and shock anyone unlucky enough to be standing on one. Sometimes the streams of electricity will even repeat without warning, and as a little cherry on top of that, the stage tilts. So couple all that with the feeling of being overburdened with having to win against this titan twice, which in turn can lead to extreme stress and or hopelessness while playing, and because of that, if that effect gets to you too much and you lose, oops, the stone fell again. What you gotta do in this situation isn't a cheat of any sort, you just gotta enter that flow state. You know that feeling whenever you're doing something really hard, but your body gets that adrenaline rush and you just absolutely zone in on what you're doing, so incredibly focused? Yeah, that's the flow state. I've actually gotten this a few times myself whenever I'm drumming to particularly tricky songs. I play drums, by the way. That's essentially what you gotta do here. You gotta throw away all your concerns and just recall everything you've learned from past battles to enter that zone and try and win the game. Or in Zoomer terms, you just gotta lock in. This isn't a final boss, this is a mathematic equation. But if you do actually manage to do it and beat the champion, you are blessed with that one final sound. The release of all that tension upon winning the Striker Cup is just indescribable. It's seriously unlike anything I've ever felt in a game before. It's like achieving Nirvana whilst listening to Nirvana. It feels like you've just delivered the finishing blow to the beast and you can finally take that trophy home. Okay, maybe it is actually describable. After a personal congratulations from the game, you can then start the campaign again with another character or defend your title if you so wish. No thanks. Mario Strikers Charged is most certainly not the type of game you see every day. For having some of the most expressive animations, intricate gameplay design, and an admittedly frustrating yet compelling campaign mode, this, in my opinion, is the best sports video game ever released on so many levels. Though even in the modern age, that is still not a very high bar. Regardless, it's crazy to me just how much love and care was put into a Mario soccer game of all things, which is why I have to hand it to Next Level for being able to make a game like this. It was so good in fact, they literally could not do it again. With all that said, I want you, the viewer, to get something out of this video. Did I make this video just to glaze a 2007 Wii game like any Zoomer soyboy would? Maybe, but I also wanted to show everyone the actual inner game design reasons as to why I love this game, rather than just the visuals. The animations and visuals and stuff are still very, very good, don't get me wrong, but from the very little I've seen from people talking about this game, that's kind of it. So hopefully you leave this video with your eyes open to the fact that Mario Strikers Charged has more going on than just what's on the surface. And it'd be even better if it convinced some people to actually try this game out for themselves. I'd understand if you couldn't, because Wii games are hard to find nowadays. But in the event that you did, I hope you have as much fun with it as I've had. I recommend you try out Road to the Striker Cup at least once so you can then open your third eye. And just before I close this out, I just want to thank you for sticking around to the end. I apologize if this comes out very, very late. I kind of have a lot of stuff on my plate right now. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed the video regardless of whenever it comes out. Be sure to leave a like, leave a nice comment, and allow me to end the video in the corniest way I possibly could. What I've done, I'll face myself to cross out what I become, erase myself. Hey guys, it's me again. I'm really burnt out from editing, but I'm glad I could get it done in time. That's cool. I just wanted to. This isn't really related to the video. I just wanted to leave you with a few notes at the end. You don't have to watch this part. You can go if you really want to. Bye. So first things first. That one community post I made where I announced the a potential Q&A video that would happen on the 21st. Yeah, in case you couldn't tell, that's not really happening now. Unfortunately I didn't think I got enough interesting questions, which kind of sucks, but I can understand it. I literally said in the post that it wasn't a guaranteed to happen sort of thing. in all caps. But I just wanted to let you know, even though this isn't happening right now, I may save this for later. So to everyone who actually answered the poll or the post, I want to make sure that your questions that you answered with your heart do not go to waste. Okay? And also, I guess instead of getting the question and answer video, you get this video instead. So I hope that's a fair trade-off. This is the Christmas special. I'm just dragging this out so this can be like a satisfying 40 minutes. Here's the end card. Thanks for watching again. Stay grillin' and have yourself a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye bye.